Hello, everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. Manchester United 2, Fulham 1. All I've got to say is Argentina, Argentina, Argentina. What a result. And I think we can all say, and if you were at the game, whether you're watching in your living room like I was tonight, that was one of the best goals of the season for me, just because of how much it got you off your seat and how unexpected it was. We were down and out in that second half, and we managed to get the goal thanks to a star boy that is coming up the ranks, which is Alejandro Garnacho. But let's get straight into it. No asking you how you think the game was. We'll get onto that later. Charlie, Kev, Alejandro Garnacho coming off the bench again and making such an impact. We'll go Kev first. How much talent has this guy got?
Oh, I mean, we were talking about this in the previous fan forum, and I had the pleasure of seeing him in the Youth Cup final. Absolutely head and shoulders above everybody else. And the cameo today, I mean, it is so impressive. I had a few people tweeting me in the week because of the comments I said. I said he reminds me very much of a young Ryan Giggs, you know, the kind of George Best model. And people are very quick to shoot you down. They will get in touch with you and say, stop building him up. You know, the hype, he doesn't need it. And I know there's been a few comments from Erik ten Hag in the week about Garnacho, his attitude, timekeeping and stuff like that. I was very, very surprised. In hindsight, I know it's very easy to say, but you see Elanga starting that game today, and I'm like, nah, why is Garnacho on the bench? You know, he's been very impressive. Garnacho he's won us a game. The pass from Christian Eriksen, I mean, that is different gravy altogether. The weight of pass that Christian Eriksen puts on that. But Garnacho has to be in the right place at the right time. He slips a ball home. And we have won a game today that we did not deserve to win. You know, Fulham fans would be well within their rights to ring in the Metropolitan Police this evening and reporting a crime that 3 points have been stolen from Craven Cottage. That's how far I would go. I was impressed with Fulham. At the stages, United really, really irritated me. I'm sure we will get into it. There were certain decisions by Erik ten Hag that I looked at and questioned. Yeah. And without that Garnacho goal, I'm looking at coming into this fan forum, and I'm sure none of us would have been happy. It was smash and grab. We've got the 3 points. Argentina, let's have it.
Yeah, Garnacho in the chat, and it is right, Garnacho. I mean, Charlie, for me personally, I think this guy is so good off the left. The reason he wasn't starting is because he wants to just give Garnacho that confidence, and playing him on the right probably would have. We don't know if we would have got the same result coming out of him on that side. And I think Rashford obviously is a preferential at the moment, but whether that'll continue if Garnacho keeps playing like this, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But he just looks like he's got everything. Directed players. His finish today was so cool, calm and collected. I would say not many people finish that at the club at all. And for an 18-year-old to do it in the last minute of the game, the confidence, the way he's holding his shirt up at the crowd, for me, it feels like we've got a superstar on our hands. And we'll get into the frustrating things like Kev said, because there was many today, but how excited are you for this guy? And do you think it's getting to the point now where maybe Erik ten Hag, if he works with him in the international break, that he's not going to the World Cup, he might be on next up to kind of get into the starting 11, and Sancho, Toney, Rashford, got to watch the backs a little bit.
Yeah, the kid's got the world at his feet. Honestly, I'm going to say that Ten Hag would have said before coming on, look, like, you're good enough, go and win us this game of football. And that's exactly what he's gone and done. Admittedly, the last kind of 5-10 minutes, I'd completely zoned out because I'll be honest, I just presumed that we were either going to draw or lose that game. I think I even tweeted out, I can't remember at what point, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we did go and lose it. It was just one of those games, and it's weird to say that, you know, we were playing counter-attack football against Fulham, but 3 points is 3 points at the end of the day. But yeah, Garnacho is just a breath of fresh air. Whether he starts, whether he's just coming on, like, it's just it's je ne sais quoi. Is that what I say? I don't know.
I'm going to take your word for it, if I'm being honest. I don't actually know, but yeah, it was superb from him, and you could see how excited he was at the end, and like, you can just feel the aura around it. I think Gary Neville said it on commentary. I mean, I don't agree with everything he said on commentary today. He was doing my head in at points in that game, but he said you can just tell, like, he uses confidence, and you can just tell there's an aura around him that he is going to be one of them players where you can just see that star in him. And I don't want to compare to Elanga because I actually thought Elanga did all right today. I think he put a real big shift in. But you can tell the difference when someone's going to come in and be a good player for you and a decent player, someone you can rely on, or when someone comes in and they start lining it up straight away and you know there's something special there and they are going to be a special player. And Garnacho looks like he's got that. But that was the main positive of the game. But I have to agree that second half was, I had so many complaints. I honestly, when you sat here and you're watching it and you watch it, I don't know if you're watching it with people or you're on Twitter and you're looking what people are saying, it honestly, it does rile you up watching it unfold in front of you, because in that first half, it did look like we should be winning that game. I know, Kev, you said that Fulham would be really disappointed, and from the second half, absolutely they will be. But in that first half, Martial had a chance, Rashford had a chance with his left foot that was taken so poorly. Eriksen missed that one before half-time. He could have been 2 or 3-0 up at that point. Do you think what we're missing is someone who can put the ball into the back of the net, some clinicalness in that team?
We're definitely missing a clinical striker. There is no... well, you look at it, and we've discussed it many a times on here. You can discuss Cristiano Ronaldo. He wasn't present today. Martial gets his chance in the team. I thought Martial was good. He's showing something. He can hold the ball up. He's definitely a different option to what we have. But the one thing is, we do not really have competition for places. I know that the likes of maybe Marcus Rashford would like to throw his hat in the ring as being the central striker at Manchester United, but I mean, I don't see that. Out of that bunch, I would say Martial is the number one. Now, as long as he is fully fit, as you rightly say, we talk about decisions today. I mean, Martial coming off when you're chasing a game like that, you know, he did look like he was in the zone.
Ran out of steam, I thought.
Yeah, I understand that, and he has been injured. But again, when you're looking to chase a game and you're making changes like bringing McTominay on, I think for me, it just sort of stinks of the fact that Manchester United, as some of us maybe thought the squad depth was all right. But I mean, we're missing the likes of Toney, Sancho. And when you start looking to the bench, you think it's not great. And this is where investment is heavily needed. But Elanga, again, I know you're saying you thought he did all right today. Personally, I wouldn't have started him. I think Garnacho is so unpredictable. The refreshing thing is that he is unpredictable. You put him in that team and he's your old school. You don't know what you're going to get from him. It's kind of head down. He frightens the life out of defenders. Defenders hate to play against that. And in stark contrast, a player like Marcus Rashford today, who, I mean, I was pulling my hair out watching that match. You know, I was infuriated. The decision-making for Marcus Rashford today is beyond belief, man. You know, he's a professional footballer, and I'm thinking, seriously, mate? You know, you've just been called up for the World Cup, and he has been in all right form for Manchester United. And I think, again, it's almost like he's just gone backwards today, and you're like, listen, if you get this final thought process right of your game, and you choose to shoot at the right time, choose to play the easy pass at the right time, it's like he's gone backwards, and it was all getting muddled up. So, From my Kev's point of view, I looked at Rashford today and I'm thinking, you know, I don't know whether he's just stepped backwards, but listen, it is positivity. Only it's smash and grab. It really, really was today.
It does feel like with Marcus Rashford, though, it's like we know he's definitely improved this season, but one game, like the last game against Villa, I thought he looked pretty good and he got his goal and he played well. The game before that, I thought he looked really poor. Again today, I thought he looked really poor. It just, the inconsistency. We need consistently good from these players, especially when you're trying to play at the top level, which we're trying to do. And if it weren't for Garnacho, we would have been quite behind today going into that international break. And going in on a draw when it should be a win is always going to be a downer. But talking about Rashford, things that need to be worked on, I just wanted to bring up something I noticed. In the first half of the game, Martial has a shot on his left foot. It doesn't go in, but it's a great shot on his left foot. Rashford has a ball to him. It's an easier chance. It's like one-on-one with the keeper. He hits it with his left foot, and it's the worst hit I've seen. That, I mean, when you're looking at it on FIFA terms, like a lot of you guys do, I mean, it's like one staff, weak foot kind of things. And if you're a professional football player in Manchester United, you need to be able to use that left foot. So for me personally, you can just see a lack of technicality in that front line. And that's what we need to improve. And with that lack of technicality, Charlie, for me, I was speaking to my brother actually during the game. And I was saying it's actually mental how Spurs are ahead of us, because I think Spurs are really poor. And when we played them, you could see that we were better, definitely. But yet they keep picking up points and they actually are able to score goals. With us, I think it looks like we struggle to score goals at times. And my brother said the difference is they've got clinical finishers. They've got likes of Harry Kane that can finish. Do you think, how important is it that we go and get a striker in January? Because I think Martial looked brilliant today, especially coming back from injury. I thought his hold-up play was good. His link-up play was good. He did miss a few chances. That's expected when you're coming back from injury like that. But I just think we're missing someone at the elite level that can poach in the box. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, we all obviously know that striker is a big position that we either need to, whether it's backup, whether it's another, a big first choice, big name player, either one, it will help out, right? But I feel like we're in a very tricky situation on what kind of striker we go and buy. Obviously, January, you probably have less options, whereas in the summer you might have a few more, but January you might pay more. So it's very key, because as well, does Ten Hag still want to keep Martial as his number one guy and therefore go into the market and get someone a lot younger who can obviously develop and not wanting to go straight and play first team football straight away. So it's a difficult situation to be in, but 100% a striker is imperative moving forward. Yeah, I think it's been proven to us that we can't rely on Martial week in, week out, just because of his injury record so far. Ronaldo, whatever happens with him, right, this season, long term, he's not going to be around. So, yeah, striker is definitely something that needs to be brought in 100%.
And in the first half, yeah, bringing that one back up. In the first half, Charlie, obviously people are laughing at me for saying Martial was brilliant. I thought he was. I think you could definitely see, brilliant might be a stretch to be fair, but you could definitely see the difference for when he plays than when Ronaldo plays. And I don't want to throw Ronaldo under the bus, but well, I'm actually going to say something on that actually, because you could see Bruno was in the game more. Eriksen was getting on the ball more. I thought the link-up play was actually better, and we had some chances. The second half was very poor, and that's because Bruno got moved out to the right, and we'll get onto that in a second. But I would like to know if the Portugal World Cup was on today, if Ronaldo would have been ill. That's what I'd like to know personally, because I just don't think it's right that players should have an excuse to miss out on games just before the World Cup. But he played today. Do you think his link-up play with the other players makes us play better as a team?
Look, I think he didn't look better than, only Ronaldo. I think he looked a lot better than Rashford's been through the middle as well. Like, we know what Rashford's hold-up play and that is like. I feel like we do definitely look a lot more like everyone understands what they're doing a little bit more when Martial is through the middle. Obviously, Rashford and Martial tend to play better when they are playing together. But Rashford wasn't great today. But I do think Martial is kind of imperative to what Ten Hag wants to do. He's made it quite clear that he had a good pre-season and that he presses well. He's quick enough to get in the lines, and he probably offers. He's maybe not as good. Rashford is better than him at certain things, and Ronaldo is obviously better than him at certain things. But maybe just Martial is overall, the better forward choice that Erik Ten Hag's looking at, and you could definitely see that in the first half, 100%. There's times where he drops deep and has the composure to turn and then play through Bruno or whoever. Whereas I feel like if Rashford does that, it's very much just a bounce pass backwards, and Ronaldo can very much do that. Do that as well. So yeah, Martial is, and there's comments coming in saying Martial is almost like the glue as such to making other people play better as well. It's not just he comes in and scores 3 goals every game. He's not that type of player, but yeah, I think he improves everyone else as well.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. I think he's not a striker. I think at the moment that's going to score you like 25 goals a season, but he does improve everyone around us. But that doesn't mean we can't get better, and we definitely can get a number 9 in that's going to score 20 to 25 goals. There is that option there. But at the moment, we've just not got that many options. And he is definitely the best possible player to play there, in my opinion. Darren Mulaney says, I'll be happy with Gakpo and a right back in January. And we've been linked to a Blackburn striker. I mean, striker and right back are definitely looking like the most likely. And that brings me on to the point of two things that I think nearly cost us the game today. I thought Malacia did a very good job at right back as a makeshift right back. I felt sorry for him, to be honest with you. He got asked to do a shift there and he did. We desperately need a backup right back. I think that's obvious, and that could have cost us. William was getting down there a lot, and Elanga had to help out a lot when he was on the pitch. That's why when he came off, I thought we looked more vulnerable. And then also Bruno Fernandes being pushed out to the right to accommodate another midfielder coming on. It's just not working. I think Erik ten Hag's tried it a few times now. Hopefully it's not cost us, but he looks at that performance and decides it's the wrong thing to do. Kev, coming to you, do you agree with the majority of people that were saying that McTominay coming on as Cam and moving Bruno to the right is really where the game started to die for us?
Just bringing McTominay on full stop was probably where the game ended.
To read my comments.
The thing is, you look at it, and from a positivity kind of spin, you look and you think, seriously? You know, you bring in McTominay on. Are we trying to see out the game at 1-1? Are you seriously happy with that? Or are we going to go and try and win it? You know, and yet McTominay, listen, I've always said, I think he is a player. He's a squad player. You know, that is what him and Fred will have to get used to now. You don't sign Casemiro, who is the creme de la creme, and a player in Christian Eriksen, who I absolutely adore. You know, they are going to walk into that team. So they will be subjected to substitute appearances. There's a time and a place. We've got away with it today. But when you see McTominay coming on, you know, the header, you know, from the edge of the area, and I'm in there, like he's like, it's a long range header. And I'm turning to my son. I was like, a long range header? Who tries a long range header? You know, just bring it down on your chest, you know, get the opportunity to shoot or do something. It's absolutely madness, man.
There was a lot of bad language coming from our front room at that point. I'll tell you that for a fact.
Who's ever scored a header from the edge of the area, you know? And Scott McTominay will definitely not do that. And listen, he comes on, he's unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get from him. He's all action. He'll run about and do bits. But when it comes down to it, and let's talk about his position at Manchester United. I mean, United have signed a player in Christian Eriksen today. And I go back earlier. McTominay has never done what Eriksen did today in that game. And for me, I know Garnacho scored the goal. But Eriksen's pass, the weight of pass into Garnacho is that has won Manchester United the game today. And McTominay is not capable of doing that. Neither is Fred. And that's why you have to have the right blend in that midfield. We have got it at the minute. But for long periods of the game today, for some reason, Manchester United looked well off it. And it was surprising. And that's why at the start of the show, I said, if you're a Fulham fan, you have a right to feel aggrieved by that result today. That was smash and grab. We've won it at the death with more or less the last kick of the game. And you could tell the Fulham players absolutely devastated. Absolutely devastated. I bet even Ricky was feeling sorry for little Dan James, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, we'll get on to Dan James. We've got so much to talk about, honestly. Dan James, I think he's the only player, I think they said it on maybe Sky Sports. I heard it somewhere that he's the only player that we've seen really kind of give Martinez a bit of a game. You know what I mean? Like, Martinez looked like he was struggling for the first time. By the way, I still think Martinez had a great game. I thought the whole defence did, to be honest with you. But staying on the midfield for a second, Charlie, before we move on to the defence. Eriksen, like we just said there, Kev said he did brilliantly. And again, Bruno moving out to the right. I think you just mentioned before we went live, Paulinho had such a good game, and he did. I think he got man of the match on Sky Sports before, obviously, Garnacho's goal went in. He looks like a serious player, Paulinho. I've said before, I think he's going to go quite far. But I think Paulinho actually got better even when Bruno went out to the right, because when you're dealing with players that aren't used to playing that role, like Scott McTominay, and Eriksen, I thought was weaker because he didn't have the energy of Bruno in there at that point in the game. Casemiro was good all game, obviously, but Bruno causes midfield and defence is such a problem in there that when he went to the right, you could really see the drop off. Do you think it's time that we stop experimenting with this Bruno on the right thing.
I mean, we're caught in between a rock and a hard place, right? As much as admittedly, I wasn't really paying attention to much of like Elanga's defensive work, and he could have obviously been playing like really well out there, but in terms defense wise. But I mean, who else? If you're bringing Elanga off, unfortunately, no Anthony, no Sancho. Who else do you kind of put out there? I agree. Obviously, as soon as Bruno gets put out there, it's that we lose the creativity. We almost lose again a little bit of that glue type thing, and link up play. But yeah, it's just it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because it's when he's out there, he obviously can whip in crosses and stuff. But it's like a different, it wasn't that game. It was just I don't know. It was weird that we were basically looking as if we were shutting up shop for a 1-0 win. I mean, and there was still a good half an hour, 25 minutes left, right? When McTominay came on, it was just I don't know if it was necessarily the wrong decision. I think it was the wrong timing. I mean, you maybe make that sub with like 10 minutes to go or something, and it doesn't get kind of looked at as much. But it's just unfortunate as well that Bruno was the one who gave the ball away, and they obviously went and scored, didn't they? It doesn't really.
Can I just say on that, I actually think it was a really poor pass that put him under pressure. His touch wasn't great, but to be fair, I thought Eriksen had a good game, but he had a lot of options, and he went for the hardest one with a really big long ball, and he put him under a lot of pressure, I thought.
Yeah, the only thing is obviously he would have 100% he would have known that the guy was behind him. So like he's obviously thinking. I mean, maybe he's thinking that he's going to come really tight so he can just kind of spin it round and win a foul or something like that. But I just feel like in that situation, if that's I don't know, if that is Elanga, he's almost not good enough to think, oh, I can spin this person. So maybe he does try and just like shield it, even if he gives away a throw in. A throw in to them is better than, them obviously going on the counter attack and scoring. But yeah, it's all hindsight, isn't it? So it's again, it's not like his fault. It was just an unfortunate, he's tried to do something, it's not come off, and just the one time that again, loads of people will pick up on that, and Bruno's the reason that we've conceded. That's how a lot of people look at it. But Player FC, we love it.
Honestly, people that think that, I can't agree. I thought up until he went onto the right, I thought he was one of our best players, and then that it wasn't a good touch, but I thought that pass massively put him under pressure. But I will actually say, I don't know if it's because I've been speaking to Ricky too much, but I actually was looking at Elanga's defensive work today because Ricky tells me to every game, and I thought he was helping Malacia out quite a lot, and Malacia, he was struggling at one point against Willian, I have to say, but he kept going all game. But Elanga did get back quite a lot, and I do think when Elanga came off, we missed that pace up and down that right-hand side massively. I think with the substitution, if something's not broke, don't fix it. And I don't think you can try and hold on to a 1-0 in the Premier League against the likes of Fulham. I just don't think you can. And I do think that substitution was, I wouldn't say it was really defensive, but I would say it was more of a defensive substitution than an attacking one. And if your bench is poor, then maybe you've just got to stick with the players that are on the pitch. I didn't like that substitution, if I'm honest. I would have rather brought Garnacho on at that point than have brought on Scott McTominay in the middle. But hopefully we won't see it again. We'll have to see. But Kev, Malacia at right back. Do you think he did a better job than what Lindelof would have done there? Do you think he did all right today, or do you think in January we've got to be trying to look for a new right back to come in case Dalot is suspended?
I think it was an interesting option. 101,000,000%. It was a better option than playing Lindelof at right back. At least Malacia gives you something going forward. Even in the final third of the pitch, I thought Malacia some really good touches and that. But you could tell, like you've just alluded to, that he's certainly not comfortable being on that right-hand side, being a left-hand-sided player. So it was kind of, you were looking and thinking, he's going to get tested here. Whoever's running at him knows his weakness. They're going to be able to cut back. And I thought he did well. I thought Malacia did really, really well today. And I dread to think if maybe Lindelof was on that right-hand side. And the thing is, again, if you start looking at mixing that up then, and if Lindelof was to play on the right, you probably then bring in Harry Maguire in, which is his own kind of problem anyway. Do you know what I mean? You put him in at centre-back, and today, Lindelof and like you say, Martinez never put a foot wrong today. Again, this height thing baffles me, these so-called football experts that carry on. Every game I'm watching, Martinez, every single header, his positional play, you know, he gets himself into these positions. It's almost, he reads the game so well from his position then to be winning these headers. It's just every time a ball's pumped in and you think, he's almost like the shortest person in the area, but that's just the sign of a great player that can read the game so well. And his attributes on the ball, I'm loving that as well. The way he comes out with the ball, it's so comfortable, and it is a throwback because we've not been spoiled at Manchester United in the centre back department. We've had Harry Maguire and Lindelof. We've been subjected to that. They look very shaky. You know, anytime they're on the ball carrying it out, you're like, just give it someone. But with Martinez, the guy, he can play ball, as the kids say, or as my son says, he's a techie baller. That means. But he does, doesn't he? He carries a ball out of defence. He can play a pass. He could almost play that sort of holding midfield role. He's that good, and it's a joy to watch. It really is.
Yeah, I thought again he won everything in the air today, and people say Mitrovic wasn't playing. Well, it's not Mitrovic is injured. You've got to take the game as it comes. We've not got Anthony. We've not got Sancho, and I do think you can't just have that defense. Martinez was playing against who he was playing against at the end of the day. He can only do what he can do against who he's against, and he was really, really good. I think because he's so nimble, like he actually manages to get up and like slide down his opposition to like get the ball. He's so like agile in his positions. He's, like you said, he's such an intelligent footballer. And I think Lindelof also did really well as well. I'm not going to lie. I thought last game against Aston Villa, I thought he was very poor. Martinez wasn't great either, and I'm talking about in the league here, not in the cup. But in this game, I thought they both did well. Charlie, it looks like Harry Maguire is fourth choice centre-back. We had got confirmation really from Ten Hag in the press conferences. He was alluding to it. 80 million and fourth choice. And there's been rumours this week that Ten Hag wants to maybe sell him in the summer. I think not playing him is quite a bit of a statement in itself, especially when he's meant to be captain. Do you think he's someone that's going to have to maybe go into the summer? I mean, do you see him really getting back into this team?
I mean, he's going to want to play, right? Especially if he wants to. I mean, how he's involved in the whole England World Cup squad, I don't know. Regardless of kind of, you know, oh, he's got us here. He's had a good Euros. All this kind of rubbish. When you're not playing, I don't really understand how that can work out. But he's going to want to play football. It's whether he tries to just kind of stick at it for the short term in the hopes that he can somehow get back in. I don't know whether he just preys on other people's injuries, but long term, surely he's thinking now he needs to be like, you know, I need to be looking elsewhere, because it's quite clear that all the time Ten Hag is going to be the manager at Manchester United, and the system that he's trying to implement, that, you know, Harry Maguire is not going to be involved in it. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think as well, looking towards the game that we have coming up, a really important one for us, Barcelona in February, I think it is. We have that game, and we know Martinez is suspended for it. Hopefully we'll have Varane back. I still think it'll be Varane and Lindelof. I think Lindelof is the solid backup that Ten Hag does seem to look to a lot, and I think it's important to have someone like that in your squad. I don't think Lindelof is first team worthy every week. I just don't think he's at the same level as Varane and Martinez are. But to have someone come in and do a job for you, I think he's the perfect guy for that. Whereas Maguire, he's going to be want to be playing first team football 100%, and I think he's a player that he's very specific to a certain style of football and a certain team. So I do think we'll end up seeing him go, and I think it'd probably be the best thing for everyone, including himself. But yeah, Kev, Sancho's ill again today. And I think it's 5 weeks now he's been ill for. I don't know what's going on there. I don't want to speculate, because we know it's not to avoid injury for the World Cup, because obviously he's not going. So maybe he's got a serious illness. We don't know. I think I heard maybe it's tonsillitis. But I mean, Garnacho coming on the scene now, and I saw someone in the comments saying Garnacho's done more than what Sancho's done in 2 years. I wouldn't go that far. Sancho scored some important goals for us, Liverpool. He's had some good games for us. Consistently just not been at the races. Do you think things can turn around in this World Cup break where he isn't going, maybe training on the field with Ten Hag? I mean, I had someone outside Old Trafford saying to me the other day that the reason Sancho is ill every week is because Ten Hag's put him on a special training camp of how to beat a man again. He seems to have forgotten how to do it. So do you think he can, with some training from Ten Hag, he can come back? Because I saw some stats on Twitter the other day, and I think the amount of goals and assists he got in a number of games for Dortmund was crazily good. And we've had players come from Dortmund before. We've had Haaland, we've had De Bruyne, we've had other brilliant players, and his stats were good. I mean, Bundesliga players get a lot of stick sometimes, but that player can't have just gone away, surely.
Do you know when? I remember when Sancho first signed, very, very excited, and you touch on a thing there about Dortmund. If we talk about Dortmund and the Bundesliga, if we're talking about that as a league, then you think of two players that failed at Manchester United, which were Kagawa and Mkhitaryan. You know, oh, there we go, just on cue. But they signed for Manchester United. Again, you look at Dortmund, they were brilliant and they were fantastic at them clubs. Yet Manchester United is a different kettle of fish. You know, you come to Manchester United, it's a huge, huge club. It is a step up, and there is no doubt that the intensity and everything of the Premier League is totally different. So that is something that Sancho will have to get to grips with. The fact he's not in the England squad is probably another argument, because I'm not a massive fan of Gareth Southgate. I don't agree with the way he's gone about selecting his favourites, if we want to call it that. You know, Harry Maguire should be nowhere near that. He started 4 Premier League games or something, or 4 games for Manchester United this season. How that guy's getting a free pass on that aeroplane to Qatar will forever baffle me. But you live by the sword, you die on it. And that's what Gareth Southgate will have to do. If he believes that he can count on a player like Harry Maguire, then fair play. But, you know, if he lets you down, then you will have to live with that decision. For me, there are better players that could have been chosen in front of him. He's decided not to do it. He's decided to go with his, as I always say, me in between us thing, friends. And he'll choose his friends. He's done it, and he'll take them with him. Do you know what I mean? Come on, lads, let's go over to Qatar for a bit of a holiday and all that. But if he's serious about winning it, he shouldn't be anywhere near it. But Sancho, there's room for improvement. As you rightly say, he has scored important goals for Manchester United this season, but his all-round game, and when we're talking about 90 minutes plus of football a game, he is in and out of games, and we've spent a hell of a lot of money on him. But this is where the coaches earn the money. This is where Ten Hag has to get the best out of him. But again, it's not Ten Hag signing. And when you look at the players that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer recruited at Manchester United and where they are now, have they developed? You could even throw Diego Dallo in there, who I think is United's most improved player. Ten Hag, you know, the likes of Steve McLaren, the coaching staff, have worked wonders with him. And the 5 players that Ten Hag has signed for Manchester United, for me, all absolutely bang on. They've been spot on.
Yeah, he's like night and day compared to the transfer windows of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer days. I mean, God. I mean, I was looking back at that the other day, and it's actually crazy to think how you can get it so wrong. And by the way, everyone in the chat, I've just thought of something that we can do at the end of the show, so make sure you stay around. I'm going to do a few different awards for halfway through the season, cut off before the World Cup, and I'll ask Kevin Charlie who they'd give the certain awards for: most improved, best player so far. So get thinking, and you guys have your say as well. We'll do that towards the end. But Charlie, I want to get your opinion on Jadon Sancho. I think you're a fan from what I can recall of speaking about. Do you think now he's just got to come back after this break and think fresh start and hit the ground running, like he's not really had this start to the season that he's had? Because he has had moments. He's not been absolutely awful in every game, but his last few games he played, you just couldn't see the player that we saw was originally there with him.
Seems like a massive confidence player, doesn't he? And he's just obviously lacking so much confidence. Maybe that is then, part of the reason why he is, kind of ill. I mean, you never quite know. But I mean, it's a tough one because I keep saying the same thing, but it's so frustrating because we know that he is such a talented footballer. It's not like a Dan James where he just plays for us like shit every week, but we kind of know he is shit, and it's just annoying in that way.
Don't speak bad on Dan James.
He will
Sancho,
not like this.
No, there's a reason he's at Fulham, guys. Come on, let's be real here. But Sancho is very, very, very good. He just again there can be a wrong place, wrong time situation going on here in the sense of when Ten Hag's come in. And look, he started off the season all right, didn't he? He scored a few goals, as you say, scored against Liverpool, but it just seems to have gone, as quick as it's gone up, it's gone down even quicker. So I just hope, I hope for his sake that he takes the time out, the kind of 4 or 5 week break, whatever it is, that to use it to rejuvenate and work on himself and his football capabilities, because we all know he's got it. He's just obviously got a fair bit of kind of proving to do to show that he can do it on a consistent basis for me.
Definitely. I mean, Kev, Sancho and Antony right wing battling it out, Garnacho, Rashford left wing battling it out. I think it seems that's quite good options if you've got people fit. I genuinely do think now, especially with Garnacho coming to that role. Do you agree?
Yes, and that is what you want. You want competition for places. I'm fed up of the last kind of few seasons of these players being kind of shoehorned in on reputation, and we've not had really competition for places. The even fact that we are debating on here, do we need to buy a right back? Just to not even push Dalot, but just as cover for Dalot this season, tells me how far Manchester United have come. We've come a long, long way. And it is small steps. You can't get above your station. For me, it was mega that Manchester United got 3 points today. When you look at Chelsea's performance yesterday, to be able to pull away slightly from them and to keep in the hunt for the top 4, it's a massive thing. And we also, isn't it?
It is. We need competition. And as well, Rory C just said, don't forget the mighty Elanga. How could I forget Elanga? I mean, squad player, and he can do a job, I think, off the bench.
Well, here's one for you then, Beth. I'm going to sound all Ricky. Make the word a Rickyism or a question for you then. Who would you prefer to have at Manchester United, Elanga or Dan James? Who would you prefer to start? When you look at the impact that Dan James made today.
It's a tough one because, to be honest with you, Dan James, everyone can call it off one game. Dan James, I've seen him be absolutely woeful in United shirt over and over and over again. And he's got his kind of expertise, which is beating a man and pace. But Elanga, he hasn't been great. But he's also had a game where against Atletico Madrid where he scored that winning goal. He's had moments as well, like Dan James had today. And again, you've got to think players are on their A game against a former club. Dan James and Pereira both, you could tell they were right up for it. For me, I think it's much for muchness though. I'd probably go with Elanga just because he's younger and I think he's got more potential. That's literally it. But there's not much in it, to be honest with you. And Elanga has the pace as well. So who would you rather have?
I think Dan James. When you think back to the great results, however we managed to get them under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer against the likes of Manchester City, and I remember being on shows with Ricky at the time, and him telling me, preaching.
Ricky'd have one either wing. You'd have Dan James left wing, Ricky on his right wing. That's his ideal.
11 Dan Jameses in the team. That's what he said. That's all you need. I'm telling you, Kev. Dan James, he's a dedicated player. He does this, that, and I listened and. I tell you what, I threw the question out on seeing Dan James. I think I'm not saying I'm gutted that he's left Manchester United or anything. We're past that now. But the question was Elanga or Dan James. I think on current form, I think Dan James does actually bring more to the party. And as a defensive role, he's not a selfish player and probably offers a bit more than what Elanga does. I think Elanga's kind of stagnated. And I know I've been on a show recently with Jordan where he was saying maybe it's a good thing if United try to look at getting Elanga on some kind of a loan deal, somewhere where he goes out and he's getting 90 minutes of football a week, wherever it might be, just to develop him as a player. Because at United at the minute, he's not a starter for me. So he's one of them players who's kind of been propelled. He's got the song, Rhythm as a Dancer, Anthony Elanga, and that the confidence comes with that. But you need to get back to basics, and you need to be doing it on the pitch. And we haven't signed the likes of Anthony for nearly 100 million. We've got Rashford, like you say, Sancho. It really is an area of the pitch where competition for places. I think Elanga's going to really, really struggle to stamp any authority and get into that team.
I'd like to see him go on loan as well. And like someone just said in the chat, which is so true, realistically, we shouldn't have either of them at Man United level, really. But I think Elanga, I do feel for him because I do think he's being thrown in the deep end a lot of the time. I don't think he's up to it, but I think he's doing a job as best he can. I think his work rate's good. I think his attitude's good. He needs a loan where he can get playing time and his confidence back up, definitely. I've got one question for you guys, though, before we move on to these little awards. Who's a better player? Andreas Pereira or Donny van de Beek?
Oh, Pereira, 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you just mean at this current minute?
At this current minute, if you're looking at stats, if you're looking at,
at this current minute, if Bruno was to be out injured, who would you rather have?
Well, it's
team? In this current minute.
Pereira's on better form, but Donny van de Beek is the better footballer. 100%.
How?
100%. Like, surely that's not even a question, right?
I'm not saying that Pereira's a better footballer all around, but I've seen more from Pereira overall.
We were all trying to get rid of him for so many years.
I know. I've seen a long range shot. I've seen him being able to dribble. I've seen a little bit of pace. I've seen him kind of actually get on the ball in the midfield. With Donny van de Beek, and I was someone pushing for him for so long. He's had moments, but I've not really seen much of him. And I was just watching Pereira today and I thought he did really well. And I thought, don't get me wrong, he was poor at United and we made the right decision to get rid of him. But I just thought, realistically, has it for 40 million, has it really been much of an improvement? Not really.
Pereira never stood out at Manchester United. He was given chances. And there are certain players that will get into a team like, no disrespect, but your Fulhams, and they will look, head and shoulders above other players in that team. He stood out today. He certainly had a point to prove against Manchester United because they sold him. But again, he's not a player I'd be looking and thinking, let's bring back to Manchester United, because we're blessed at the minute, man. As long as Christian Eriksen and Casemiro are fit, they're in there. And that's a different story altogether. Pereira's getting nowhere near that team.
Imagine rating Pereira over Donny low ball IQ. We're not saying that he's a better football player, but I'm saying at the moment I would rather have Pereira at this moment in time in form. And I think it's been 3 years. What have we really seen of Donny? I'm not on a if anyone's actually watched these shows for a long time, I've been pushing Donny so much to get a chance and play. I think there is definitely talent there, 100%. But at this moment in time, for 40 million, was it that much of an upgrade? From what they've given to us, not really.
The thing is, Donny van de Beek's not had really much of a chance to showcase it. And that is the reason that Andreas Pereira left Manchester United to get first-team football. He is starting every single game for Fulham, week in, week out. One of the first names on the team sheet. And that's something we've discussed on the United stand is the likes of Donny van de Beek. Does he need to leave Man United to get first-team football? He could produce that kind of football if he was starting every single game, but he's not going to get a run of games at Manchester United.
Yeah, I'd like to see Donny on loan. I know Ten Hag kind of ruled a loan move out for him. He said he either proves himself here or he goes, but I'd like to see him get some game time because it's not as if we can afford to give him a run of games to get himself into form. Like, he had 3 games and he didn't do anything. And people saying he needs time, he needs games. He got given 3 games, he didn't do anything. So if he needs to be played into form for a long amount of time, I'd rather it be on loan personally. And yeah, Donny Ajax was class, and I've always been a big pusher of Donny, 100%. But it's just when you've been so excited to watch someone and see them play, and then for 3 games they do nothing, it's a bit like downheartening. So it was just a question I threw to the group because I was talking about it earlier on when I was watching the game, because Pereira did impress me, but I mean, my memory's not that short. I know it was 100% the right decision to get rid of Pereira, and he didn't step up to the plate when we did play in the Premier League. Absolutely not. But getting on to the more positives, which is the awards that I'm about to do, with you guys in the comments, get in the chat as well what you think. We're going to start off because I think we know this one. So I'll start off with the one we know. Most improved player of the season so far.
Dallo.
We all agree, and I think the chat will agree as well. So we'll go on that one, and then we'll go on biggest revival. So someone who started the season off maybe not too well, but has revived it, come round and kind of revived themselves and come into form. Charlie, we'll go with you first.
De Gea, maybe?
Yeah, that's a shout. Kev?
Do you know I'm going to go a bit different on this one? And this will sound very, very harsh, but I'm going to say Casemiro. And only because when he come into the team, and it seemed like this kind of top red mentality, you know, oh, you can't slag him off. And there did come a point, right, when Casemiro, the first couple of games, and I understand I'm willing to give any player a chance and go, new league, he's come over, but I did look and I was like, he doesn't look fully fit, this guy. And then I was like, doesn't really look like he can run. And the first sort of glimpses I got of him, I was like, what have Real Madrid had our pants down here again or what? But lo and behold, do you know what I mean? The cream rises to the top or whatever, class is permanent. That guy now has just got better. The goal against Chelsea, the roar at the United fans, and he is absolute world class. He's kicked on and he's just getting better and better. You know, he's absolutely mint, man. Love him.
That tackle as well from him today to create that goal was just brilliant. Oh. And he's the difference between him and what we had last season is literally light and day. And that is one of the biggest differences as well, along with the defence, 100%. That is really, really helping us out. I see people in the chat as well saying Luke Shaw. I think I'd go with Luke Shaw, but both your guys' picks are definitely worthy as well. I wouldn't complain with them. Luke Shaw's a player I've always liked him. I think there's so much like potential there for him to be good every single week, but we've just not seen a consistent Roberto Carlos in a long time. We had him for that season, and that was it under Ollie. But there's a player there, and God, against Brentford, it was bad. He was poor, and he even admitted it himself. He was poor, but he's come back into the team, and I think he's played really, really well, and he's consistently having decent games after decent games. I mean, that cross today to Martial should have scored it, and it was a pinpoint cross. It was great. So I think the fact, and people as well saying Lindelof, Lindelof started poor. Lindelof's still a bit inconsistent for me, but the fact we've seen players improve, again, I think it's credit to Ten Hag that we've seen this happen. And then next thing we'll go with Shining Star. I think we'll know who's going to get this one. Shining Star, guys. Someone who's kind of come out of the woodwork maybe and been a beacon of light for Manchester United.
Go, Kev.
Phil Jones? It has to be Garnacho, doesn't it? Very fitting, very, very fitting that you ask a question on a day like this when the teenager, prodigal son, whatever you want to call him, has come up and scored the goal that's won Manchester United the game today. Like I say earlier on, I was discussing that Erik Ten Hag has maybe questioned a few things about this kid. For me, Erik Ten Hag is a very, very clever man. The way he's dealt with the Ronaldo situation, the way he's been able to, his authority basically on this club and basically say to everyone, listen, Cristiano Ronaldo might be the most famous footballer, one of the best footballers ever to grace this planet, but I'm in charge here at Man United. That was a massive thing for Erik Ten Hag to put that authority on the players and say, I'm the boss. The next bit now will be guiding Garnacho on this path of becoming the next generational talent at Manchester United. And it will be a huge thing. And I think the fact that he's come out publicly and said these things about Garnacho, that he needs to be on time for training, his attitude needs to change. For me, I can see he's a young lad and he's willing to learn, and he will listen to that. Ten Hag is doing that for a reason. He wants this lad to be focused, switched on. He watches him in training every day and he must be like looking and thinking, God, this lad is good. He can be whatever he wants to be. So it's how you manage him. Again, like I said, when I touched on Ryan Giggs earlier, when he broke into the United team as a teenager, I think he was still sitting exams at school and he was playing games for Manchester United. Yet Sir Alex Ferguson had this really, really good way of wrapping him up in cotton wool, keeping him away from the media, knowing he was going to be a superstar. And you have to do that at that age. You know, when you factor in so many things, mental health, even social media, all everything that comes with being a footballer these days. It's so much to put on someone. We build them up so much. But Garnacho, I don't see how you can hold him back much more any minute. You know, he's doing it.
I do think I saw Tim Sherwood actually speaking about how Ten Hag and Bruno shouldn't have come out to the media and said, oh, he had a bad attitude, it's not the right thing to do, keep it in-house. I think the people who know how to deal with Garnacho is Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag knows how to deal with him, and I think maybe doing that is kind of kept his feet on the ground a bit, and like, you've still got a graft to get into this team. You need to make sure you're on time. You need to make sure your attitude's good, or else I will expose you. And I think that's a good way to kind of go about it. I think he'll know himself whether a player is going to respond to that well or if he's going to respond to that poorly. That's called good man management. Erik ten Hag must know that's going to get the best out of Garnacho, and it has done. When he's come on, he's looked really hungry, and he's been very, very good. I mean, I'm debating getting an Argentina flag to put up in my house because of Martinez and Garnacho. That's how much I'm loving them at the moment. But I mean, Charlie, I assume Garnacho is your shining star. Shouts for Martinez as well, but someone who's kind of come through. We've been. It's been a while. It feels like since we've had like a youth player come through and look this good.
Yeah, definitely. Garnacho is. If he keeps, you know, these type of performances and being as effective as he is, even if he doesn't get the numbers, you know, scoring goals, assists, even if he does keep showing, you know, improvement week on week, then it's an exciting young player to have, you know, in your ranks for sure.
Yeah, and also I remember we're in a different situation to Manchester City in Pep Guardiola, because City were doing very well under Pep and like challenging for the league, but we're at the point where we are a bit desperate. So sometimes we do have to look to players that are the best and bring them on like Garnacho. But I remember when Foden was coming through at City, and every game people were complaining, why isn't he getting more minutes? Why is he only getting a few minutes at the end of the game? Why isn't he playing yet? And Pep really kind of slowly introduced Foden, and I think it worked really well in his favour, and he's gone on to have a very good career. So I think top managers will know what they're doing with these players, and you've just got to kind of trust the process. But moving on to signing of the season so far. Charlie, I'll go with you first.
Yeah, it's I feel like the clear and obvious one is obviously Martinez, but I actually I think I'll go for Casemiro, to be fair, just because we've been screaming out for that kind of destroyer in midfield, and he's just class. Like that tackle, we spoke about it before, but that tackle that obviously leads to the goal. Like, it's, you know, Fred and McTominay can't do that. Fred wouldn't be anywhere near him. McTominay would just foul him. It's quality.
Kev?
I asked this question, it might have been a couple of months ago, we were talking about this, and I went down the route of Christian Eriksen. I would be well within my rights at this moment to say he scored a goal today and he's put that ball on the plate for Garnacho. He has unlocked that defence and won it.
Should have had another one as well, shouldn't he?
Yeah. If that's for Denmark, it's flying in top corner, honestly.
Yeah, not for us. But I'm going to have to change my mind. That was a couple of months ago. And now, even though Eriksen's still been brilliant, Martinez has to be Martinez. You know, you think of the game, Brentford, smashed 4-0, Troy Deeney jumping all over him, whatever. Everybody, Graham Souness, even Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, everybody coming out. You cannot play, be this high. Being heightist, is that even a thing? You know, being heightist about somebody being small. You cannot have a defender this small. That guy has gone out and just got better, basically silenced all the critics. Like you said, Beth, the chance of Argentina. Did you see how many Argentina flags were in that crowd today when they went over to the players at the end of the game? Them United fans, exactly like me and all of us, are absolutely in love with that guy. He is giving back to the Man United fans what we have been disconnected for years, where we've had players coming off the pitch, you know, and there's been all kinds of things going on. United fans shouting at him, screaming at him, you're not fit to wear the shirt, whatever. That guy is fit to wear the shirt, and he's worth every single penny that he earns every week. He's all action. Love him, man. Love him.
I think Arsenal almost got him, didn't they?
I know, God. Honestly.
Did you realise you said Troy Deeney again, by the way, then?
Don't say that.
Did you mean
Don't.
to or not?
Ivan Toney.
You definitely said Troy Deeney was jumping all over him.
The passion that comes from that guy is honestly crazy. And all of our signings as well, they've not just added quality, but passion, drive. They drove the other players on because they've got to get involved, because if not, they look stupid. Like, it's just like, it's so good. And isn't it good that in a transfer window where we've previously had Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and Dan James, we're fighting between, for me, it's like you're fighting between Casemiro, Martinez and Eriksen, but also Anthony's still been good. I know he's got injured, but he's still a good player. I mean, and Malacia looks like a decent prospect as well as a young talent. I think it's been such a good transfer window, and credit to Ten Hag on that. I think I would go purely because of the position. We need it so badly. I mean, we needed a centre-back as well. But Casemiro was just, like Charlie said, on Fred, the upgrade of Fred to Casemiro is just absolutely crazy. But then again, the upgrade on Maguire to Martinez is crazy. So it's just like, it's hard to pick. But the reason I've said Casemiro is because I'm kind of saving it for this one. This is my final one, which is player of the season so far. And I personally would go for Martinez. Kev?
I'm going to have to back that up with my earlier comment. Yeah, I've got nothing left to say on him.
Brilliant
Martinez
guy.
So far, yeah.
Charlie, anyone different? Or are you sticking with it?
No, yeah, clean sweep, 3 out of 3. Martinez, yeah, he's quality, and he's as you mentioned earlier, the only time which he seems to be beaten was when Dan James could just give it the old meet, just run straight past him, wasn't it? But yeah, there's some things you can't really defend against, when someone just kicks it and just runs straight past you. It's a little bit difficult, but yeah, no, he's been quality, breath of fresh air as well.
Yeah, the butcher, and someone just put the Martinez stand. I mean, at the moment, honestly. And do you know what as well? Like, people saying Dallo in the chat. Dallo's had been great. Like, so many players have shouts, which is how we can tell that we're improving. We're still off it. We still need squad depth. We still need to get the consistency up, because we were close to losing today, and not losing, drawing. It would have felt like a loss. And drawing to Fulham, and then the loss on the back of the loss to Aston Villa, it's just kind of reruns of like the wins against Liverpool and Arsenal seem to start to come a little bit more meaningless then, because if you fail to win against these sort of teams, it's frustrating. But we managed to get the win, and you can tell the team togetherness is there so much. And finally, before we wrap this up, I mean, this is the last fanfaring for a game in quite a long time, and we're going to be going into the January transfer window. I mean, there's games before then. But if you could only have a right back or a striker in January, what would you pick? And Kev, what would you pick?
That's what a great question. I need to get this one right now, because I have got a serious problem with saying Ivan Toney. There we go. I didn't say Troy Deeney. Why do I keep saying Troy Deeney and getting Ivan
It's not
Toney?
even close.
Me and Charlie talked off air the other night, and he was like, "It's not even close. How do you keep getting these names mixed up?" You know, and I'm like, I think Ivan Toney would be a great option for Manchester United if you want to go down the kind of route of the money he was going to cost. And, you know, a right back, I've not even really thought about it. I don't even think I could give an answer on that. I think we could get away at the minute with Malacia doing that job if he has to fill in at right back. There is no doubt that Dallo is the first right back in that team. And at left back, Luke Shaw, for me, has steamed in there. So maybe this is something Malacia will have to adapt to, because at the minute he can train all he wants and try and get into that team. But Luke Shaw's been brilliant. He's been absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, apologies. I can't really think of a right back that...
It's honestly so difficult. And Charlie, I mean, Ivan Toney's someone that we all would love to see. And no World Cup, which I think is crazy. And I love the way he just shut up Gareth Southgate yesterday when he did his little celebration and 2 goals against City. I mean, this guy, I think, Prem proven. I think if he was at a top 6 team, he'd be going to the World Cup. Absolutely. I think it's really unfair that he's not going. I mean, the likes of Jordan Henderson are going, for crying out loud, and Toney's not. But it does mean he's open. He's going to be training over the break. Maybe some negotiations can take place. I mean, do you think Brentford would even sell in January?
In all honesty, no. I mean, everyone's has a price, right? But it will be ridiculous, especially with the Man United tax. Him obviously being English as well. It would be through the roof. In all honesty, but I do agree. He's a unbelievable player, something that would offer a player that would offer something different as well in the likes of, he's that properly bully centre halves, and more often than not, a Manchester United strikers don't usually do that, right? So, Martial doesn't do it, Rashford doesn't do it, Ronaldo just wants to fight everyone nowadays, it seems, because he gets so frustrated. So it'd be a great addition. I mean, if I had to choose between signing one in terms of a striker or right back, it would probably be a striker, just because we need to score more goals. And at the minute, we're stopping. We're not conceding too many, but we're also not scoring that many. So a little bit more scoring would be better.
Yeah, I'd agree with you both on that. Even though we desperately need a right back, I think goals are so important, and hopefully, touch wood, Dalot stays fit, and we can kind of get away with that. And I've just seen in the chat as well, to be honest, Jurrien Timber, he plays right back and centre back. Is a player that when we need backup for centre back, when Martinez needs a rest or when Varane's injured, and then when we need backup for right back, it could be a really good multifunctional signing. Someone that Erik ten Hag's worked with and wanted to get as well, and he obviously as well, he looks quality, I have to say. So that could be an option we go down. Hopefully we get both in January, but don't be so sure. But we'll have to wait and see. But we've ended the first half of the season on a win. Manchester United 2, 1 to Fulham, and Garnacho, the star boy, is the reason we got that win. And it's looking positive for Manchester United. Erik ten Hag's doing really, really well coming at this point in the season. I think we're in the position that most of us would think is a little bit above what we would have expected Erik ten Hag to do at the start of the season, if I'm being honest, with how poor we were last year. So hopefully he takes this break out to coach the players that are underperforming and to speak to the board of getting more signings in, because this manager needs to be backed. But we'll sign off with Charlie. Thanks for coming on the show.
Appreciate it as always. Enjoy myself.
Yes, definitely. And more fan forums to come after the World Cup. Kev, thanks for coming on. Always a pleasure. Never a chore. Yeah, and we'll be seeing you in the World Cup break anyway for some Kev content. So look forward to that, everyone. And we'll sign off with Argentina. Have a good break, everyone, and we'll see you on the United Stand Still, and that's football as well for the World Cup stuff. And yeah, thanks for everyone for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe.